save time when you pay your bills online. It's fast, easy, and convenient. First Bank of Sea Isle City, a community bank that delivers more for you every day. Personal service, today's technology, from the people who truly care. Learn more at firstbankseaisle.com.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
South Jersey's official play-by-play home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
At 0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hinnick.
It's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Josh Hinnick.
I know one thing that I'm going to say tomorrow morning is, wow, the Eagles got a steal. Because that is what we say every year around this time, because they kind of do end up with Quinyon Mitchell last year and Cooper DeJean in the second round, Jalen Carter the year before. It seems like the teams that are really talented happen to draft really well, and players that you imagine fitting into a situation like that.
That was Dominique Foxworth this morning on ESPN's Get Up. They were asking the question, what is the headlines going to be tomorrow? And we always have to come back to those Philadelphia Eagles. Josh Hinnick hanging out with you live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. We are counting you down to the NFL draft. It is under 2 hours from the beginning. The countdown clock over my shoulder says 1 hour and 57 minutes. Of course, you can hear all the draft coverage, every pick right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And don't forget, you can listen to the draft as well on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. We will hear from 97.3 ESPN.com sports columnist Dave Weinberg coming up in about 20 minutes from now, as we did not get a chance to catch up with him yesterday. So Dave had to shuffle things around and join us today, because we do want to hear from Dave one more time before the Eagles jump on that clock. Or will they jump on that clock? And I think that's really where we have to start. We have to start with the question of, will the Eagles even make the pick? Because I think that is a fascinating part of this conversation. Howie Roseman has a history of not doing what everyone else thinks he's going to do. But we've heard explanations for why he can or cannot stick at 32. And the closer we get the draft time, the more our suspicions are raised that he is not staying at 32. But does he move up or does he move down? Well, former Eagles scout Daniel Jeremiah thinks Howie will move up.
I think he'd move up. You know, I think there's so many people that want to get out in this draft that are trading back. That what has Howie done his entire career? He's zigged when everyone else is zagged, and he's going to be able to see if we have a premier player start to slip. Man, they're armed. They're armed and ready to go.
That's one theory, that Howie could move up. And the theory being that the rest of the league is trying to move down, because remember, you know, a lot of draft analysts have said that basically from player 10 to 35, there's not a big difference. I've even heard some people say between 5 and 35 or between 10 and 40. So depending on which draft analyst you listen to, the expectation is that there's going to be a lot of teams that are willing to take calls, that are willing to make moves. Now, the first move of the draft had nothing to do with the first round. Houston Texans did some swapping of picks in the 5th round. So as of least right now, the biggest move so far has nothing to do with the Eagles. But Dominique Foxworth, you heard him say it. There is a scenario where the Eagles are the headline tomorrow morning. But could that headline be because they trade down? Last night on 97.3 ESPN, AP senior NFL reporter Rob Maaddi, live from Green Bay, said this.
I think it's more than 50-50 that they're not picking it at number 32, that they're somehow, they'll move that pick, whether it's an aggressive move up or it's an aggressive move back. I do think more than likely there's going to be several trades that Howie makes in this draft, and very possible that it happens on the first day.
Several trades Howie could make is what Rob Maaddi says, and that he could trade down. Now, it's not that Rob has one set of intel and DJ has another set of intel. It's the reality that no one actually knows what Howie's going to do. That's the bigger part of all this, is that Howie holds the cards right now. The Eagles have so much draft capital. They have a pick that is going to be valuable for a variety of reasons. And frankly, if you're smart, no team is going to pick the Jackson Darts, the Jalen Milrose, and the Tyler Shucks in the top 10, top 15 picks if they're smart. Now, you might have a desperate team that might come along and make a rash decision. But realistically, and unless you have a very biased opinion, which there are some people out there who they hate on Shedeur Sanders for basically because of who his daddy is, there's only two quarterbacks who are worth a top 10, the top 15 pick in this draft. Cam Ward's are going to go number 1 to Tennessee. The Titans have basically said without saying that that is their guy. Shedeur is probably going to go anywhere from 3 to 21, most likely. 3 is where the Giants are, because the Giants apparently are as undecided as me at the sushi bar when I'm hungry, okay? And at 21, the Steelers, they seemed to be interested in the idea of investing in the quarterback beyond the 2025 season in hopes that Aaron Rodgers does come in and play one more year. Now, there's no guarantee that Rodgers is going to play one more year. That's a whole other conversation. But where the Eagles are sitting at 32, remember the last time they were at 32. They traded out. They let the Ravens get their franchise quarterback, and the Eagles walked away with 3 players. The Eagles could do the same deal all over again. Now, Rick Saratella, he was on with Mike Yell earlier today on the Sports Bash, and he brought up the idea of a sleeper team that could trade up, that being the Seattle Seahawks. They have picks number 50 and 52. It is not unreasonable for Seattle to trade from that spot, jump up to 32, and draft a quarterback like Tyler Shuck or Jackson Dart. I'll get to Jalen Milroe in just a minute. But the reason why those two guys are options for them is because of who Seattle's quarterback is right now. That being Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is on a 2-year contract, basically. The third year is kind of like it's there to balance the books. It's not there because it's actually there they're going to keep him for 3 years. Seattle has basically told Sam Darnold, look, you're our quarterback for the next 2 years. But after that, we can't promise you anything. So this is the perfect opportunity to draft somebody like a Dart or a Shuck, 2 players who definitely need refinement. They're 2 players that definitely need development, evolution, growth, and all that stuff. And when you look at the quarterbacks in this draft, there is a reality where only potentially 2 quarterbacks are taken in the first round. That being Cam Ward, 1 overall, and then one of the other quarterbacks near the back end of the round. Because there's another scenario where these teams, they just can't bite down on the tough meat that is the idea of taking a non-first round talent in the first round. Because that's the other side of this equation. The other side of the equation is look at NFL history. Winning a championship is not correlated with a first round draft pick. I'm not even talking about number one overall. I'm just talking about a first round pick. Because winning a championship has less to do with what quarterback you draft in the first round than it has to do with the talent around that quarterback. Jalen Hurts, Tom Brady, Nick Foles are all three quarterbacks who were not drafted in the first round. Jalen Hurts won Super Bowl 59. Tom Brady won Super Bowls 50 and 48. Nick Foles won, you might remember, 52. So 52, 53, 55, and 59 were all teams that were won by quarterbacks who were not drafted in the first round. Now, outside of Mahomes winning 3 rings and Matthew Stafford getting 1, those are the only guys who have won a championship in recent years who were first-round draft picks. And even Mahomes was not a number 1 overall pick. You have to go back to Super Bowl 50 when Peyton Manning, with his noodle arm and the great Denver Broncos defense, won a championship, for another instance where a quarterback was a first-round pick and won a championship. Before Peyton Manning in 50, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson. Again, having a number 1 first-round pick does not guarantee you nothing except for how much money you are going to pay that guy. So for NFL teams, they have a decision to make. Do we trade up into the first round to get a guy like the Packers did years ago to own basically have control of that player for a certain amount of time? Or do you eventually turn around and say, you know what, we don't value any of these quarterbacks in the first round. We'll get our guy in the later rounds. We need to get more of the high-level talent in this draft, which is on the defensive line, the offensive line, at the tight end position, and also the wide receiver position. You know, there is a lot of conjecture that we could see a record number of defensive players taken in the first round tonight. But there's just as much conjecture about how many receivers could or couldn't go, how many running backs. Because again, a lot of NFL teams, they don't have a great gap between just a group of players who are all about the same to these teams. So the reason why the Eagles are a candidate to move up is because a lot of teams might say, where I am sitting at 20, 22, 24, I can get the same guy potentially in the second round. So it's going to be interesting to see. Who does Howie Roseman take advantage of tonight? Who is the GM that Howie can manipulate tonight? It's probably not going to be a guy he's gotten before, right? There's not going to be any got you scenarios tonight with Howie Roseman and the Eagles. There's not going to be a scenario where it's like on the Draft Day movie where Kevin Costner's character, Sonny Weaver, calls the Jacksonville Jags GM, and in the movie, the Jags GM is this young, first-time GM, doesn't really know what he's doing, and he's panicking, and Sonny Weaver kind of like, maneuvers around him and say, hey, you don't want to look like the bad guy. Why don't you give me the pick? Why don't you make me sweat the details, right? And so there's not that situation with the Eagles. Everyone knows Howie Roseman, the Shark. Everybody knows Howie Roseman is coming for everything and anything, and you don't know where it's coming. But again, we know he's going to make a move. It's just, is it going to be up or down? Because getting closer to the draft, if I had to put a number on it, I think there's only a 25% chance that the Eagles pick at 32. And that might be over the number, okay? I see Steven Ventnor thinks it's only 20% at 609-403-0973. And the reason I go 25% is strictly because I look at the Eagles as a team that does value certain players. I wrote about this on 973ESPN.com. You also check it out on the 973 ESPN mobile app. There are 7 players that NFL insiders, draft analysts, and experts all point to as these are guys who went for pre-draft visits with the Eagles, and their sources are basically, there's a certain level of consensus that all of those guys are high on the Eagles draft board. And it's mostly defensive players. And I think if you're an Eagles fan, you're probably looking at the draft saying, you got to get a defensive player. You got to get one of these guys who might fall to you and get him before he disappears. And I think that is where, when you look at, for example, Donovan Ezeraku, the young man from Williamstown who went to Boston College. When you look at a guy like Maxwell Hairston, the speedster who had the fastest run at the combine this year in the 40-yard dash. A Walter Nolan, a guy who is a bona fide stud but has some character off-the-field questions revolving around him, right? The reason why all of these guys are in the conversation is because the Eagles look at all of them and say, at 32, this could be a steal for us. And I think for Philadelphia, you got to go into this draft completely open-minded. Because remember, Howie Roseman said, you got to be patient. Now, that patience might lead you to a multitude of scenarios. Now I got people texting in the percentage the Eagles stay at 32. Jeff from Ocean City says 40%. So Jeff says 40. I say 25. Steven Ventnor says 20. And again, it goes back to where are you getting your information from? And I think that, there are some analysts and some people who say, look, the Eagles have a group of players they really, really like. And that was part of my article on 973ESPN.com. There are a group of players who the Eagles are really invested in. They're mostly defensive players. Furthermore, there's also a contingent of teams who are interested in moving out of their slots. And those slots, frankly, they're anywhere from 5 to 25. Now, Howie Roseman said it last week. The Eagles are not trading up into the top 5, top 10, top 15. So Philadelphia is probably not that team. But if there's maybe a guy falling, right? As Daniel Jeremiah heard him say, if there's someone falling down the draft board, that's a guy the Eagles could definitely run up and go get. We'll talk more Eagles coming up next with Dave Weinberg on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday. Josh Hennick hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Stay comfortable with Broadleaf's plumbing, heating, and air conditioning in every season. From expert repairs to system replacements, Broadleaf's has you covered. Join their family comfort plan for priority service, repair savings, and worry-free annual maintenance. Broadleaf's offers free quotes, rebates, and 0% financing on system installs. So give Broadleaf's, your local factory authorized Bryant dealer, a call today at 609-390-3907 or visit broadleafs.net.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. John always listens to his truck.
So when his brakes start talking, he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
Hey, Joy. Oh, you are glowing.
Oh, hey, more like Mira joyed that Miralax helped me go. I was so backed up. Tried mega coffees, prune juice, everything. Then Miralax. And hello, gentle relief without the harsh side effects.
Ooh, how does it work?
It works naturally with the water in your body for constipation relief. Find Miralax today at your local retailer.
Use as directed for occasional constipation.
Right now, the Home Depot has spring deals under $20. So what are you working on? If you're planning on cooking out this season, head to the Home Depot so you can fire up the grill with deals on charcoal. Right now, get 2 16-pound bags of Kingsford charcoal for only $17.88. Was $19.98. Don't miss spring deals under $20 now through May 7th at the Home Depot. Subject to availability, valid on select items only.
Progressive knows owning a home can be hard, but not always. Like when you're relaxing on your patio, enjoying a nice, quiet evening. So quiet. Except for the sound of the neighbor's party. Which you said you'd go to if you weren't busy. And your quiet night on the patio, that's not exactly busy, is it? Maybe you should just stay inside. At least Progressive's Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance is the easiest part of owning a home. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. First round coverage of the NFL Draft tonight right here on 97.3 ESPN. Tennessee Titans picking first, while the Eagles as Super Bowl champions have the final pick in round 1. They also have the final pick in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. The Eagles do not have picks in rounds 6 and 7, but they have 4 selections in the 5th round. The NBA announcing that both the Philadelphia 76ers and the New York Knicks will be participating in the NBA Abu Dhabi games. Those 2 preseason contests will take place on October 2nd and October 4th. The Phillies heading to Chicago Friday for a 3-game weekend series against the Cubs beginning Friday afternoon, with Taijuan Walker taking the bump for the Phillies, who are looking to snap a 4-game losing skid after they fell to the Mets Wednesday afternoon 4-3. Colin Ray will go for the Cubs. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams 4-day super sale and get 40% off paints and stains April 25th through the 28th. With prices starting at $29.39, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your bedroom, living room, or home office, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Rain chances will start to increase a little more than 24 hours from now. The start of the weekend does look wet. Mainly clear tonight, low temperature 54 degrees. Clouds increase tomorrow. It's still warm, high 73. There'll be a chance of late-day showers tomorrow, and then scattered rain and thunderstorms throughout Saturday. Cloudy and breezy. High comes down to 68. Sunny, windy, and 66 on Sunday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Something good to know from First Bank of Sea Isle City. We have all of today's innovative banking products just like the big banks, but we offer something they can't. A personal community focus. Let's get you started with Bill Pay. You save time when you pay your bills online. It's fast, easy, and convenient. First Bank of Sea Isle City. A community bank that delivers more for you every day. Personal service, today's technology, from the people who truly care. Learn more at firstbankseaisle.com.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll check it back on the text board in just a bit. It is draft day here on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, text board is still open, 609-403-0973. You can join the conversation just like Jeff from Ocean City and Steve from Ventnor did. But right now, as promised, it's not a Weinberg Wednesday, but Dave Weinberg and I shuffled the schedules around. He is joining us here on a Thursday here on 97.3 ESPN. Now, Dave, for the audience who is on the radio not able to see you, what random place are you at today?
I am in Orlando, Florida, at the Marriott Cypress Harbor Resort.
So that's why you have the sunglasses on.
That is correct. It's always sunny down here.
So, Dave, speaking of sunny, obviously for the Eagles, they've done very well in the draft in recent years. But there's a lot of conversation about should they trade up, should they trade down, should they stay put? What is Dave Weinberg's theory on what the Eagles should do tonight?
Well, I know I'm in the minority, but I think I've told you before, if I have the opportunity, I'm like, say if Tyler Warren somehow slips out of down to 10, then I do whatever I can to go get him. I just think he's going to be a generational. I think he's going to be the best player in this draft, and I think he's an absolute beast. Perfect successor to Dallas Goedert, but probably not going to happen. So I've seen a lot of mock drafts and a lot of analysts talking about it, and they all seem to be enamored with Walter Nolan, defensive tackle from Ole Miss. So I guess maybe if he's around in the, say, I don't know, early 20s, maybe go up and get him. Failing that, I guess you just stay put in and take whoever falls to you. I mean, I've seen I don't know, 5 or 6 guys mentioned. I don't know who's going to be there, who's not. But I think the bottom line is they'll come away from this draft with some defensive linemen, some offensive linemen, maybe a corner and a safety that could really that should be able to help them next year.
I'm glad you put it that way because, when I was doing my research for all of this, I've noticed that the only consensus there is, Dave, is that the majority of people think the Eagles are going defense in this draft in some capacity. And frankly, I think that's a smart thing to do because, one, it's a really good draft for defensive players. It gets overlooked because of all the quarterback conversation, but the reality is that this is a very good draft for if you need D linemen, you need pass rushers, you need some extra corners, right? You can get those guys in this draft, so that's good news for the Eagles. My big question, though, is, Dave, you mentioned about waiting at 32. Howie Roseman said at his press conference last week that he is not a patient person, but he knows that in cases like this, you have to be patient and let the draft come to you. So do you believe Howie is going to listen to his own advice?
Well, recent history suggests no, right? But there's probably a player there that they really think is worth moving up to get. And if the price isn't too high, or if he's in their radar in terms of the right spot, they don't want to reach too high, I don't think, for a guy who's not necessarily going to be a superstar for them. So I think they're going to wait, and maybe, like I said, if Walter Nolan falls into the 20s, maybe they go up and get him. But aside from Tyler Warren, which I would do, but I know they're not going to do that. So I think they'll probably it's probably tough for Howie to stay patient. He's not a patient person, but in this case, he probably will.
Somewhere Howie's probably just mad right now. The Houston Texans were the first team to make a trade on draft night, even though it was only 5th round picks. Probably somewhere Howie's he beat me to it. He beat me to it. Probably a small part of him. Dave Weinberg joining us here on 97.3 ESPN Extra Point columns over at 97.3ESPN.com. Dave, when you think about the Eagles, you covered the team for many years, and there were some horrible drafts in the past. And to see where they were, the years of, guys like Barry Gardner, right? And now the organization, it's almost every round they get a legitimate player. It's almost like a night and day conversation. I remember years ago, you would go into the draft and there'd be eye rolls, right? I'd be like, oh, here we go. We're drafting some rando no one's ever heard of.
John Harris, or Anton Davis, or you can name go down the list, and there's a bunch of them that
Dave, even Freddie Mitchell. I remember when he was drafted out of UCLA, and people were like, "Who? Why did you draft him?"
Right. Yeah, they were known for taking chances on guys who, weren't on anybody's radar but theirs. I guess they were trying to prove they're the smartest guys in the room. They knew more than anybody else, but it often didn't turn out to be the case. So I got to give like Howie and them credit. They go for like guys from big schools who have reputations, who are, have had a lot of success at the college level. And that seems to be the formula for success with them. I mean, you can reach for the Carson Wentz's of the North Dakota States and once in a while for stuff like that. But primarily, if they'd excelled at Ohio State, or like just say the Big 12 or the Pac-12 or whatever it used to be, or some other conference that's known for producing top players, and you're generally going to have success in the draft, I think, if you stick to that kind of formula. Later rounds maybe take a chance, but mostly I think you're probably safer taking guys from bigger schools.
Yeah, what a novel concept. Why don't you just draft good football players? I mean,
correct, right. Yep.
I mean,
that's why I don't buy into like the combine necessarily, because if I don't care how many times you can bench press or what you can do in a 40 or whatever necessarily. I mean, but show me what you did when you played for Michigan and you were playing Ohio State, or you were Oregon playing against whoever. Then I know if you're a football player or not. That's the way to tell.
Well, and also last year, it's not that Quinyon Mitchell went to a big school, but he was a guy that everyone's like, this is a football player. Like, this wasn't a guy who was just like going out for NIL money or like, just, living his best life in college. He apparently in college was a 24/7 football junkie practicing, and obviously he saw it paid off for the Eagles this year. So, it's the idea of, let's get rid of, as you said, who cares how fast their 40 time is? Who cares how much they bench press? Can you tackle? How about that question? How can you, can you, for a quarterback, can you throw the football, or do you have nice, like I remember the one. So I was laughing the other day because someone said, well, teams like Tyler Shuck a lot. Why? Because he has great footwork, and it's like, well, footwork doesn't mean you're going to complete the pass. It just means that, maybe you're going to stand in the right spot. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're the best thing you can tell me about the quarterback is he has great footwork. I need a little more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's going to, I guess maybe that hurts the Eagles a little bit. The fact that this is such a weak quarterback class, right? There's only three. So that three of that have a chance of going in the first round. So I guess that means that other teams will be like scooping up defensive tackles and edge rushers and stuff. So maybe that hurts them a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because I mean, Cam Ward's number one, obviously, but then where does Jackson Dart go? Where does Shedeur Sanders go? That's going to make for a really interesting draft, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was saying before you came on, is that I don't like, if you had to ask me as of right now, I think only 2 quarterbacks go in the first round. Like, that's kind of the range I'm at. No more than 3, because, we know, especially here in Philadelphia, Dave, you don't need a first round quarterback to win a championship. The Eagles have won 2 championships with a second round and a third round quarterback. At some point, these teams just got to accept, why don't I just go build the best team and then fit the quarterback in where I can? So, you may not have a first-round grade on Dart, Shuck, Jalen Milroe, and whoever else, so just go get a better player. Like, I think it's a pretty simple equation. I think that's the real reason why Shedeur Sanders is drafted. I don't think it's because of who his daddy is. I think it's because of the fact that teams are like, look, I can get a really good defensive lineman or a really good offensive lineman. I can wait to get a quarterback.
Right, I agree. There's no reason to reach for that. For a guy who may or may not pan out. I mean, of course, you never know, regardless of who it is. But especially with the quarterback situation, you can't afford to make a mistake like that. You can't afford to reach and have it backfire on you. Use a Band-Aid there for a year. Bring in a veteran or two to carry you through the year, and then try to build your team on other positions. And then when you're in position to get a quarterback, then go get them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, this year.
Absolutely. And, I was having this conversation yesterday with Rob Motti from the AP about how, are we really sure that Donovan McNabb goes down as the winningest quarterback in Eagles history if his head coach is Andy Reid? You know what I mean? If the Eagles would have drafted some other quarterback, right, are we really sure that Andy couldn't have developed that guy into a winning quarterback. I think that history shows us that where a guy lands really matters. I mean, Steve Young was hot trash in Tampa before the 49ers got a hold of him. Brett Favre was a nobody in Atlanta before he got to Green Bay. Like, where these guys land, it really does matter more than we give them credit for.
Oh, sure. And then you talked about the McNabb draft in 99. I mean, Tim Couch, number 1 to the Browns, and that was just a dumpster fire. And of course, he had a lot of injuries and stuff. But I mean, Achilles Smith, Dante Culpepper was probably the closest to McNabb in terms of success. But like Cade McNown, I mean, none of those guys panned out, and it has probably had a lot to do with where they were drafted and who was trying to develop them.
Yeah, Cade McNown went to the Bears. That's like going. It's basically like purgatory for quarterbacks over the years.
Right.
So
Kelly Smith to the Bengals. Yeah.
Well, the Bengals at that point. I mean, that was the pre-Marvin Lewis Bengals, where the Bengals just everyone they drafted failed. Like they could have drafted anybody, and it was like, that ain't gonna work.
Right. That's true.
Dave Weinberg joining us. Dave, before I let you go, I got to ask you really quick, not to sour the mood, but the Phillies got swept by the Mets, and I've been holding to the position, Dave, all week, that I don't think there's enough people pointing the finger at the man who built the roster. Dave Dombrowski keeps trying to tell us that we have a great team, we have all these all-stars, we have a ton of talent. I mean, the guy is kind of, for me at least, turning into a bit of a, thumb my nose at you know-it-all. And yet he didn't build a roster that's very good. I mean, I can't blame the manager when he has to go to Cal Stevenson and Jose Ruiz coming in the games when the guy who built the team says, we're good enough.
Yeah, you got a point there. I mean, it's kind of like the formula they used from 08 to 12, I guess, where they just kind of rode the guys that they had, hoping that they would have another run left in them. Didn't do a whole lot to rebuild the roster or to bolster it, from the farm system or whatever. And that's really killing them now. It's the same thing. The window might be shut for all we know. I mean, the superstars just aren't producing like you expected, like they did the year before that. And in the meantime, your bullpen's just hot trash. And it's all coming to a head at the same time. And they're gonna have a tough time pulling out of this. I know it's really early. And everybody says, it's a long season, it's a marathon, blah, blah, blah. But just the makeup of the team and like the culture of the team it just doesn't seem right. It seems like there's something off this year compared to last season, previous seasons.
He's Dave Weinberg at Dave Weinberg, 19 on the Twitter X platform, extra point columns over at 97.3 ESPN.com. But for today, he is in Florida and I am not.
Sorry about that.
Nothing for you to be sorry for. Dave, I always appreciate you jumping on the conversation. We'll talk soon. My pleasure, Josh. Thanks as always. I'll talk to you next week. Josh Hennig back here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. By the way, before we hit the break, I'm watching some of the fits for the athletes. And I got to tell you, I have grown to have more respect than I ever thought I would for two specific guys. Ashton Genty and Travis Hunter. They're not wearing anything that is ridiculously extravagant or outlandish or over the top. I mean, I know that Genty's shoe choice is a little odd, but the suit's fine. The suit's pretty cool. Travis Hunter with the bright jacket but the black slacks. I mean, I respect it, man. I respect that you are not trying to dress to be the most important person in the room. You're just dressing because you wanted to look good. And you looked at, I want to look good. I'm going to be on a big stage. Some of these guys, the outfits they wear, I just wonder, how did your parents raise you to think that was a good idea? Like, who are the people in your life who said, you know what's a good idea, Jalen Milroe? I'm going to wear a suit that looks like a child pasted little crosses on it that were papier-mâché crosses. but I'm going to have this really expensive JM lapel on my jacket. But the rest of my outfit looks like a little child made paper mache and put it on it. Like, who in hip man's life said, you know what's a good idea? Wear that. Like, if we could judge quarterbacks just on the outfits, I think that Jalen Milroe is not as good of a decision maker as Shedeur Sanders. Just based on the outfits. Because I'm telling you guys, you can't be the person who says, that's a good look, and then you show up and you look like you had child cutouts out of paper pasted to your jacket. So kudos to Travis Hunter. Kudos to Shedeur Sanders. Kudos to Ashton Jeanty. You said, I have a look and a style I'm going to rock with, and I'm going to own it, and I'm going to run with it. Some of these other guys, you need some help, man. You need some help. All right. Back to text board coming up on the other side. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And we are 1 hour and 19 minutes away from the start of the NFL draft. Pre-draft coverage begins from ESPN Radio tonight at 7 p.m.
It happens more than you think. A customer wants, needs the goods and services your business offers. No matter how hard they try, they can't find you, but they find your competitor right there at the top of the results page.
And even if they do find your website, when they click, it's like a ghost town.
Hello?
Outdated, not compelling, and perhaps worse, it has information that's not accurate.
Y2K? But how do you fix that? At Town Square Interactive, we have the tools to help you maximize your online presence. Just go to mylocalcustomers.com and start by getting a free local customer analysis.
This online tool will show you just how many customers in your area you could be reaching. To get in front of those customers, we will build a premium website for your business.
One that shows up well in web searches and converts website clicks into phone calls, appointments, and foot traffic.
It's simple, it's fast, and it's affordable. Go to mylocalcustomers.com and get started by getting your free local customer analysis today.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams 4-Day Super Sale and get 40% off paints and stains April 25th through the 28th. With prices starting at $29.39, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your bedroom, living room, or home office, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 5/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store single line activation on qualifying plan. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
John always listens to his truck. So when his brakes start talking, he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it. Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/55 to learn more. With 24 monthly bill credits and 2 new lines with AutoPay for well-qualified customers plus taxes, fees, and $35 per line connection charge. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Contact us plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
...to...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom. Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
No 2 people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you. All of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Keith is a be-in-the-room with real people kind of learner. So he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. Vos está pronto.
Estamos prontos. However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Spring is in full bloom at the Home Depot. So what are you working on? If you're digging into your garden, come into the Home Depot's Garden Center, where we can help you pick out the best plants for your space. Then make sure you give your plants the proper soil and support they need to thrive. Like Miracle-Gro 25-quart potting mix on special buy 2 bags for only $15. It's formulated to help your plants grow and keep them fed for up to 6 months. Shop spring savings happening now at the Home Depot.
New Jersey's got a lot of summer wow. From sun and wows to fun and wows. And every wow in between. Find your wow at visitnj.org. New Jersey, little state, lot of wow.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Before we wrap up the show, Steven Ventnor chimes in and says, I agree with Dave Weinberg. If Tyler Warren or Loveland from Michigan get past the Colts at 15, I think the Eagles should go ahead and get to Denver and get one of those guys, get ahead of Denver and get one of those guys. You know, the problem, though, is, Steve, is that, and I'm not dismissing the talent that Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland are, because I'm not ignoring that at all. But are we really sure that Dave Weinberg described Tyler Warren, he thinks might be the best player in this draft class? And I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I think Travis Hunter is far and away, to me, the best talent in this draft. But, it comes down to conviction, right? If you have the conviction that Tyler Warren or Loveland or any of these guys cannot miss players, then in theory, yes, you should do whatever it takes to go up and get them. Now, I don't think they are. I don't think Warren or Loveland are... Brock Bowers, when he came out in the draft, that was a once-in-a-lifetime tight end talent, okay? When I looked at someone, from the tight end position specifically, I remember, Sam Laporta was a guy who I thought was incredible in college, but I also understood that it's not going to be a top 10 pick. So, to me, if you're saying that Warren and Loveland are as good or better than Laporta and Brock Bowers, then maybe they are. Maybe those are guys you want to go up and get. But then I would ask, why did nobody else get them? Tight end play is pretty poor around the NFL these days. There is a lack of great tight ends, is number one. So why were teams letting them get to 15 and later? Number two, the Eagles run a specific scheme. Is Tyler Warren a willing enough blocker to take over the Dallas Goedert role? I know Loveland is a willing blocker. I've seen him do it numerous times. But do we believe that an all-around, because to me, Tyler Warren is not really a tight end. He's an athlete who has been placed at the tight end position to maximize his value in the football field. To me, Loveland is more of a tight end. So if you're saying that Tyler Warren can be as good if not better than Brock Bowers, and if you're saying that Loveland can be as good if not better than Laporta, then I do consider it. But if you can't not guarantee, but if you can't give me that for why you're getting them, then I'm out. One of the reasons why Cam Ward is going number one overall is because he has skills. He has a skill and tools that make him comparable to Patrick Mahomes, to Deshaun Watson before all of his problems and injuries. Cam Ward is comparable in terms of ability to, just to use an example, I see a little John Elway in there. So what you're doing is you got to evaluate players and what you think their potential is. And I just don't see Warren or Loveland as, if you don't get that guy, you are going to regret it. But again, I could be wrong. I don't look at them that way. And that's why, for me, I don't trade up. And that's why when I wrote my article on 97.3 ESPN.com, when I gathered all the information from all the insiders, all the analysts, all the experts, all the people who are in the know, who talk to teams, talk to scouts, talk to evaluators, talk to anyone and everyone around the league. These are the players that they came up with the Eagles being interested in. Number one, Jahad Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama. He was top 5 in the SEC in tackles. Now, the Eagles not drafted a linebacker in the first round since 1979. That was Jerry Robinson. But there was a lot of interest in Campbell because he is a versatile player. And the more versatile you are, you're better for the Eagles system. Number two, Donovan Ezaraku of Boston College from Williamstown, consensus All-American, arguably one of the best pass rushers in Boston College history. He has been described as being relentless and energetic as a pass rusher. He would make a lot of sense for the Eagles. Number three, Maxwell Harrison, the quarterback from Tennessee. What's important to me is not how fast he is. What's important to me is he is a willing tackler. 70 solo tackles in his last 20 games, and he is a guy that insiders say the Eagles are very interested in. Landon Jackson is 6'6" edge rusher from Arkansas. Don't get it twisted. He played on a bad team the last 2 years. In his final 24 college games, he averaged half a sack a game. That is a significant number for a guy on a bad team. Walter Nolan, you heard about him numerous times. He is a freakish athlete. Will he last long enough for the Eagles to grab him? We will see. TJ Sanders, defensive lineman from South Carolina, part of a great defense. He was the centerpiece of South Carolina's great defense. He averaged 1 tackle per loss per game in his last 15 starts at South Carolina. Finally, Nick Scordon, a guy who's got a lot of questions about what his potential is, but there are reports that the Eagles, among other teams, are interested in the second youngest player in this draft. And finally, Malachi Starks. If he's there, the Eagles will draft him. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great night.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card, good for use, at Provenza Restaurant and Event Center on Wellington Avenue in Ventnor for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
Seize the deal.